role model for all of us on time. That was excellent. Our next speaker is Gillian Caldwell. She is the director of Witness, an organization that has pioneered the use of video and technology in the fight for human rights. And I'm sure many of you have participated, as have many groups that we work with in the Witness video program.
Okay. Thank you very much, Charlotte, and the Women's Learning Partnership, all of you, for inviting me here to talk about Witness. Witness, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, was formed in 1992 as a way to promote the use of video and new technologies by grassroots organizations around the world. We've equipped a little over 100 organizations now with video technology, and occasionally with satellite telephones and faxes and computers, and worked with them to enable them to incorporate new technologies into their advocacy and into their human rights documentation. What we found early on, I've only actually been with Witness since '98, is that training is really essential to how and in what ways people incorporate these technologies. And particularly when you're talking about video, most grassroots organizations haven't had access to video. I'm really impressed to see all of the work that you all are doing with video, but it's certainly not the norm because of the expense involved. So we've developed training curricula which address the technical aspects of shooting video, obviously lighting, focus, and sound, and we have training materials that are written and in video and in 4 languages, including Arabic. And now we've developed a second module which is coming out this summer called Video for Change, a Practical Guide for Activists. And what that does is take you through, again, in video and also in a 100-page manual, the various uses of video and advocacy campaigns. And just briefly to review what we found through working in partnership with these organizations, video is being used as evidence in national and international tribunals. We recently submitted 15 hours of evidence to the War Crimes Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, and we're working on documentation on the use of rape as a tool of war in Sierra Leone for a forthcoming tribunal in that country, when and if it emerges. It's used, as has already been discussed, as an educational tool on a grassroots level. That's very important. It's not always feasible to get video broadcast. And so in my work, which was supported by the Network Women's Program, the Open Society Institute, on trafficking women for forced prostitution, we produced a film which was available in English as well as in Russian and distributed throughout the region and actually beyond the region to really educate people and to promote education and awareness on the issue and on the policy dimensions of that problem. We've also worked with partners to develop public service announcements for broadcast on television. Again, that's not always an available option because we often have state-controlled television, but we have worked with the Coalition for an International Criminal Court to develop an ad which is available in 3 languages, and we're broadcasting it in 17 countries nationally to promote public awareness on a local level and to enable people to put pressure on their governments to ratify the treaty. We're also working with the Gender Caucus for Justice. We now have a full-scale editing facility on site in New York City, and we're working with the Gender Caucus for Justice to develop a training video that will enable locally based grassroots organizations to understand how and in what ways they can use the ICC to address crimes of sexual violence. The other way in which video can be used is something I'm going to try to demonstrate here, but prove by doing so that the internet's not where it should be. And that is the use of video broadcasting online. We've got a new online initiative, and actually, before we do the video, we've got it, okay. This is called Witness Rights Alert. We launched this in March, and it's been produced entirely for free by iCast.com, which is a fantastic company as far as I'm concerned, since they did all of this work for free. And what we do is we profile partners' work, and I'm going to focus on a piece that was done by Aino Salesh Kendra in Bangladesh called In the Name of Safety. That was produced by this group in Bangladesh on the issue of safe custody. I'm sure there are people in this room that know quite a bit more about it than I do, but to put it bluntly, it actually authorizes the government to incarcerate, or at the very least to place women and or children at risk in custodial care. Until recently in prison, in fact, and some of these women were victims of rape or some of the children were homeless. And so there's been quite a bit of movement around the issue. So what we've done is taken a short piece of that film, which I'll show you. It's a 30-minute film, which they're using on a grassroots level, and which is being broadcast internationally through an agreement with TVE. But we've taken a short piece, we're broadcasting it online, and for every feature, when you go down, you can see all the different features that we've done here. For every feature that we profile, we have a story section, which should be coming up now, which gives you background on the issue. This is 3 or 4 pages with graphics from the film itself. We have an Act Now section, which is very important, ways in which people can get involved in online activism. So here we have a draft letter. And when you talk about the issue of self-representation, I think one of the most important philosophical and political tenets of Witness is that it's about enabling people to articulate themselves in their own voices. Of course, mediation is always an issue because we're back and forth on the fax and the email, and they don't have the capacity to be working at this level, but at the same time, this letter is absolutely drafted by them, and the film was produced by them, and what we're doing is trying to create an international audience. This website's now getting over 80,000 hits daily. That's because I've involved a lot of people from the worlds of film and music. Laurie Anderson, as you see up in the right-hand corner, actually comments on this. She's a well-known musician. Laurie Anderson fans who are not sensitized to an issue like this come to the site, get interested because of her interest, and all of a sudden you've really expanded the dialogue around human rights issues. We have Susan Sarandon narrated a recent piece called The Empire's New Clothes, which is on sweatshops here in New York City. So we're not just looking abroad, but also what's happening locally and working with the several organizations here in New York on that one. So the notion here is to give people the capacity not just to understand and to learn about, in a visually stimulating way, a new issue, but also to get involved in online activism. I fully agree with the comments made earlier about the difficulty of wading your way through what's going on online. We've been fortunate in that there's been a lot of positive press generating traffic to the site so that we do have an audience that seems to be interested, but at the same time, through tracking analysis, you can see it's very difficult to get people to go to the Act Now section and to take the action. And I know my own inbox is flooded with emails from organizations, all of whom I care about very deeply, and at the same time, how is it that I can take every urgent action when I get, these days, an average of 26 daily. So I think that's the challenge we all face, is that none of this is going to substitute for concerted grassroots action and one-to-one communication with and for people affected by any of these issues. But at the same time, the internet really enables us to present a message that is not mediated by the broadcast audience. And ironically enough, although it's very difficult to get any of this material on television, and it has been historically, now that we're doing this online and now that we have some celebrity involvement in the work that we're doing, there's been expressed interest in a feature-length documentary profiling the online story. So we're in a situation where we're actually working in reverse from the internet to broadcast, and then obviously the broadcast outlets will in turn reinforce the internet action. And we're working with WorldLink, which reaches about 11 million homes nationally at this point in time through direct TV and satellite TV. 60% of whom are online while they're watching TV, very high-tech homes. So we're working with them in the name of safety being broadcast in their homes. After the film ends, it says to act now, to learn how to get involved, go to witness.org, and it refers people to the site. So thinking creatively about what is now the intersection of technologies, we're moving to a more interactive environment. People expect and want interactivity, and television isn't going to be anymore the land of the couch potato. Presumably there'd actually be an opportunity to engage a little more actively in the process. So I think I'm okay? All right, well I can...
You have 1 minute.
1 minute, all right. I can try, well let me just show you a little bit of the film. I'm not going to try to play it from here because as you can see, well, as you could have seen just a second ago, we weren't able to cache it in time. And that's an indication. Here we are with an Ethernet connection, right, at a prestigious university, and we can't stream. It's okay.
Every year, thousands of people in Bangladesh become victims of a brutal and arbitrary practice known as safe custody. The vast majority of these victims are women and children. Many of them have been rescued by the police. All of them are helpless. They are innocent. And on the pretext of ensuring their safety, they are locked in jail. Ela is a lawyer at the Dhaka-based human rights organization, ASK. She has been working with a number of safe custody cases.
Supriya's story first came to our attention in 1997. At that time, she was being held in safe custody after being brutally gang raped.
না ওরা অন্য আইডিয়া করে আমাকে নির্যাতন করার জন্য তখন আমি যে চোখ বন্ধ করছি ওই অবস্থায় আমি পিকনিক করেছিলাম তখন আমার ভাই ছোট ভাই আর আমার মামায় দেরি করে না সাথে সাথে আমার হাসপাতাল নিয়ে গেছে ভ্যান গাড়ি করে নিজের সার্টিফিকেট নিয়ে বলছে চল নিয়ে যাওয়ার পরে ওরা নিয়ে গেল বরগুনা থানায় এনেছে পরে আমি বলছি স্যার আবার এখানে আনছেন কেন বলছে দরকার আছে জোরে বল দরকার আছে বিকাল 5টা পর্যন্ত আমার বসায় রাইতে তারপরে নিয়ে গেল উঠে কিন্তু সিআর স্যারে বলছে যে কেন তোমাকে হারুনুর রশিদ অনুরোধ করতেন জেল হাজতে দেওয়ার জন্য আমি বলছি কেন স্যার জেল হাজতে আমার কেন জেল হাজতের জন্য যারা প্রস্তুতি যারা আমাকে অত্যাচার করলো যারা জেল হাজতে যাবে তারা কোথায় তখন আমাকে নিয়ে গেল সেই জেলখানায়।
The real source of this tragedy is the legal system itself. When helpless women and children are picked up by the police, they are taken to court. There, the magistrate gives the order to put them in safe custody. Jails become the convenient solution. Children, particularly young girls, are also frequent victims of safe custody.
Okay, so in the interest of abiding by time limitations, I'll stop. But thank you all very much and talk to you soon.